I'm Sherilyn McElroy, and this is Romantic Romps. Welcome, everyone, to another audible podcast of Romantic Romps, where guests share their stories of love and how it changed their lives. Good morning, Romantic Romps listeners. I have a treat for you today, and her name is Kathleen Marie O'Keefe. Yes, she's Riley's daughter who graciously agreed to come on the podcast to talk about herself and her relationship with her mother. Welcome, Kathleen. May I call you Kat?
Of course, and I'm glad to be here with you today.
Did it take much coaxing on your mother's part to get you here?
A little. I've never been interviewed before, so it's a bit nerve-wracking.
Don't worry, I won't ask too hard of questions. Are you ready?
As ready as I'll ever be. Shoot!
All righty then. What was it like growing up with Riley as your mother?
Well, as your listeners heard last week, she's a woman who is not timid about exposing her life behind closed doors.
That's an understatement. And there's more where that came from, too.
Yes, I know. I've read her manuscript. She holds nothing back when it comes to sex.
Speaking of sex, did your mother give you the talk about sex when you were old enough?
Absolutely. After her own experience, or lack thereof, with her mother, she wanted to make sure that long before I started dating, I knew what to expect from boys.
How old were you when you and she spoke about sex?
15.
Can you enlighten us as to how that conversation went?
My mother didn't want the sex education classes in high school, or the way she learned as a kid, through word of mouth, to be the only methods by which I learned about copulation and all that goes before. So, one day she came into my bedroom with cookies and milk and asked to talk to me. She had never done that before, entice me with treats to speak with me, so I pretty much knew what was coming. And that was fine with me. I basically wanted to compare what she said with what my girlfriends and I had talked about.
And did her talk parallel with your girlfriend's version?
Mostly.
How did a topic like sex come up with your friends?
During slumber parties mostly, we girls loved to talk about boys and how hot they were. Some of my friends also talked in detail about their interaction with them.
Were many of your girlfriends having sex at 15?
Oh, a couple, at the risk of getting pregnant. They were being stupid. They couldn't wait 3 more years to turn 18 and get contraception. Even when I turned 18, I didn't want the pill. I had no intention of having sex with a man until I married.
Do you mind me asking if you were a virgin when you married your husband?
No and no. I don't mind you asking, and no, I wasn't a virgin, even though I had sex for the first time with the man who became my husband. He was the only man I had sex with.
How old were you when you married?
I came late to the marriage party. I was 32, and my little bundle of joy came along 5 years later. My mother thought I was going to be too old before I gave her grandchildren. I was 37. My husband and I decided that at our age, one child was enough, so we stopped there.
Your daughter's name is Charlene, right?
Yes, my sweet, delicate flower who is now all of 21. It seems like yesterday she was just a little girl learning to walk. Now she's about to graduate college. But I digress. I suppose I'm just like my mother in that way. She gets on one topic and ends up straying to something totally different. Anyway, back to the sex talk with my mother over cookies and milk. She and I had a terrific relationship. I could ask her about anything, and she would explain it plain and simple. Sex was no exception. Some of what she told me was hysterical, like the handful of guys she dated that she related to animals. Let's see. There was a pig, a jackass, and an octopus. I think a couple of those animals had offspring that I dated too. The one thing she instilled in me was, when I felt the time was right to have sex for the first time, that I 100% loved the man. And I don't mean just puppy love, the real kind of love where you want to spend the rest of your life with a guy and he feels the same about you.
And how do you know it's the real kind of love?
See, now that's the all important question. You have to have time to go through all the emotions with him, like happiness and sadness when you're tired. You have to see how he comforts you when you're sick. Does he call every day to see how you're doing, or does he get aggravated that you're not attentive to his emotional needs? These kind of things say a lot about how a man will treat you after marriage. If he's a jerk during the dating period, he'll remain that way once you say, I do. Leopards don't change their spots.
And you went through all those trials and tribulations with your husband?
Every single one. And he passed with flying colors.
So you are living happily ever after?
I didn't say that, Sherilyn. There have been times when we almost called it quits, but that's a story for another day.
Did your mother and father have a happy marriage?
From what I saw, yes. But that's a question you should really ask her. My mother and father always put their best face on in front of us kids. Peter and I thought we had the perfect parents. However, as we all know, there is no such thing as a perfect pair.
So true. Well, Kat, I think we'll stop there for today. It wasn't so bad now, was it?
Actually, no, it was very easy.
You are a delightful woman, and I thank you for answering all my questions. Will you come back for another visit in the future?
You know I'd like that, Sherilyn. Just say when, and I'm here.
Excellent. Thank you again, Kat, for taking the time to speak with me. I'm sure my listeners enjoyed the conversation. I look forward to seeing you again.
I too, Sherilyn. Goodbye.
I'd like to thank Kathleen and my listeners today for joining me, and I hope you all return for the next episode of Romantic Romps with my featured guest. Will it be Riley or will it be Kat again? Until next time, ta for now.